We think, investigate, create, innovate, and we collaborate.
Ha? Oo, meron na. Oo.
We think, investigate, create, innovate, and we collaborate. Strengthening pre-college research in the Philippines, driving youth's passion for science through intensive seminars, workshops, and rigorous training. With something new, exciting, and relevant for you with the prevailing value of an ISEF finalist. This 2020 and beyond, we, the Niap network of ISEF Alumni Philippines, is officially coming back. Come and join us as we mold young Filipino scientists and researchers towards promoting science for the public for a better world to live. Together as a community, as fellow science-driven individuals, we will continue to aspire, thrive, and transcend limitations. We are the network of ISEF Alumni Philippines.
Good afternoon. Welcome to the first part of the ISEF Alumni Stage Series of the Network of ISEF Alumni Philippines or Niap. We will be your hosts. I am Maria Isabel Limlaison.
And I am Niap, and we're both from ISEF Batch 2019. So, I would like to ask a question. How is everyone? I bet you guys are also excited to be here and to hear what our presenters have in store for you guys.
But before the main event, let us first hear the words of welcome and how this event is very important for all of us in the organization from our ever awesome and ever dynamic interim head of NIAP, Alson Ian Neil Galang.
So hello everyone, good afternoon. I am Elson and I am the head right now of the network, and on behalf of the whole team, we are so happy and so proud to hold this very first event that we have had for since 2017. As you all know, our network has been organized since 2012, but this is the very first time that we would actually be doing it in a digital platform like this one. So we are very honored that this is history in the making, especially that this is the very first batch of Filipino delegates to the first ever Regeneron ISEF. So for the past decades, It has always been known as the Intel ISEF, but for this year, it has now become the Regeneron ISEF under the sponsorship of the Regeneron Corporation. But still, they're part of this pool of amazing young scientists from the Philippines, and we are so proud and honored to showcase them today, especially to our fellow Filipinos, young Filipinos who aspire to be like them someday. So again, this is just the first of the many events that we have prepared for our network. So just sit tight, hold on to your seats, and enjoy the show. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much for the inspiring words, Kuya Elson. The Regeneron International Science Engineering Fair 2020, the first ISEF that is sponsored by Regeneron, was scheduled last May 18, 2020 in Anaheim, California. However, due to the COVID-19 pandemic, instead of presenting their researches face-to-face, they went virtual.
With this, we would like to dedicate our relaunching event to our Philippine delegates, where they will present their research studies. For each set of presenters, they will be given 5 minutes to share their research study. After that, they will have a general open forum to share their personal experiences in the field of research. To top it all, we will have an interactive open forum with the audience for the presenters to further share their learnings while doing research. Are you guys excited? Because, I am.
Without any more further ado, let's go straight on to our first presenters. First, we have Ray Vincent Pelayo and Gerardo Rafael Callador from Iloilo National High School with their project utilizing Niap, a common plant in coastal areas, as a common source of lactic acid bacteria with good probiotic properties and focus on its capability on prevention of disease development.
Ray and Raphael, please share your screen to start your presentations.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am Rafael Callador.
And today, let's talk about our study.
Cancer is the third leading cause of death in the Philippines, with about 59,000 Filipinos dying each year since 2012. One of the reasons why cancer develops is because of free radicals, byproducts within the human body that can cause damage to DNA. Thus, cancer-causing mutations occur.
Treatment for this disease is through chemotherapy or radiotherapy, which is mostly beyond the budget of many who need them most. Taking this into consideration, we were inspired to take the route of prevention in dealing with the fight against cancer through probiotics.
So in our study, we've made use of sap from the nipa palm, or the mangrove palm, a common plant along the coastal regions in our country, which is widely used as housing material. It is media, which may provide the right conditions for various microbes to grow. Specifically, our group is interested in isolating a group of bacteria known as lactic acid bacteria, or LAB for short, as multiple studies have highlighted its various beneficial properties.
When we acquired our samples from the sap, we identified its species through different characterization techniques and through its genetic code. We found out that all of our samples are Lactobacillus plantarum, a common microbe in other palm species. We went on to explore its potential probiotic properties to highlight its therapeutic implications, in which we were able to identify the following properties: antimicrobial, antioxidative, and DNA protective.
Both Escherichia coli and Staphylococcus aureus are two organisms within our digestive system and can cause common digestive diseases such as gastroenteritis. The antimicrobial property of LAB is evident upon a clear circular zone, which indicates no growth of the test organism. This proves that our lab exhibited growth inhibition against S. aureus and E. coli. So aside from its growth inhibition, we also found the potential presence of antimicrobial peptides, which was exhibited by the inhibition of lab extracts alone against S. aureus and E. coli.
Aside from its antimicrobial property, we were able to observe that our isolated lab exhibited its potential as an antioxidant, as its extracts can stabilize free radicals, which pose the threat of causing cancerous mutations in DNA. In this graph, the lab extracts were able to neutralize DPPH, a model free radical, much effectively than the commercial antioxidant vitamin E. As a
Now that
result, it exhibits a better antioxidant activity than vitamin E.
Now that we have determined that our lab extracts contain antioxidants, thus we proceeded to test if it can protect DNA from free radicals. So we simulated what happens in the body by testing lab against hydroxyl, which is a highly reactive free radical produced as a byproduct of the body's metabolic processes.
Now moving forward, as you can see in this image, the bright parts are what you can see as what we would consider to be the DNA retained. The DNA treated with the crude extract is visibly brighter compared to the other, and upon using quantification techniques, we were able to quantify how much of this DNA has been retained after the treatment. Now, as you can observe, the DNA with the treated crude extract exhibited a higher mean compared to the untreated one, which means that our isolated lab exhibits a great potential in inhibiting cancer-causing mutations which are caused by oxidative stress.
And with those results, we were able to conclusively demonstrate the great potential of lactic acid bacteria isolated from Nipa palm as a probiotic with various beneficial properties. So in a therapeutic perspective, its study is driven towards disease prevention by preventing cancer-causing mutations caused by free radicals.
On the other hand, we also wanted more communities to put a greater value to the Nipa palm for environmental preservation and to prevent these plants from being removed from coastal areas.
Now that we are at the end of our presentation, if you would like to know what our assays and tests are and how they were performed in our study, please reserve your questions in our breakout room.
Thank you very much for the beautiful presentation, Ray and Rafael.
Let us now proceed to the next presentation. Marvin's John Araneta and Lorraine Joy Bales, also from Iloilo National High School, with their study where they created a water quality monitoring device that is relatively cheaper, portable, user-friendly, and more sensitive as compared to the commercial ones.
You may now start your presentation.
So good afternoon, everyone. Once again, I am Lorraine Joy Bales, a freshman student of Ateneo de Manila University.
And I am Marvin's John Araneta, an incoming freshman in the University of the Philippines, Manila, and we will be here to present to you our study.
So to start, heavy metal sensing has been a critical concern worldwide due to the influx of heavy metals such as lead and mercury to the environment, leading to detrimental health and environmental consequences. However, current conventional techniques in heavy metal detection require high level of expertise, utilizes toxic chemicals, and most detection levels are only limited to ppm or parts per million.
Hence, in this study, we utilize endocarbon quantum dots, or CQDs, an organic class of nanomaterials which naturally glow in the form of fluorescence as nanoprobes for heavy metal detection. Interestingly, that glow fades once the CQD come in contact with heavy metal ions such as lead and mercury.
This study then innovated a novel portable water monitoring device for heavy metals, applying carbon quantum dots metal sensing ability, leading to our study entitled
Endocarbon quantum dots, base selective and sensitive fluorescent probes.
Portable in situ water monitoring prototype kit for mercury and lead.
Study has three objectives. First, it's to synthesize or create a high-quality endocarbon quantum dots, which are both sensitive and selective to mercury and lead. The NCQD were synthesized via hydrothermal synthesis by carbonizing citric acid and complexing it with urea. After that, different metal salt solutions were then prepared in order to perform the metal selectivity and sensitivity tests. The NCPDs were found out to be selective in detecting lead and mercury in water, which means among all other metals tested like sodium, calcium, zinc, cobalt, and etc., the CQD can only detect mercury and lead. Carry out concentrations of mercury and lead, resulting to a promising high level of sensitivity at 0.72 parts per billion. This means that the MC can detect even the lowest concentrations of mercury and lead in water. Thus, the NCQD's metal sensing ability is proven to be more effective compared to the existing instruments that we have heavy metal detection.
The second objective aims to characterize the produced endocarbon quantum dots through FTIR, microplate and fluorolog, AFM, FESEM, and XRD. So these were the tests conducted in order for us to accurately identify that what we have created is indeed carbon quantum dots. So functional groups were identified through the FTIR. Microplate and fluorolog determined the excitation and emission peaks of the samples, the morphology and topography of the CQD, such as its samples' diameter and sizes, were determined through the FESEM and AFN, while lastly, the XRD determined the sample's crystallinity. All of these tests were performed in order to confirm the nature and the structure of the synthesized carbon quantum dots. The test results were all proven and verified through a comparison with existing related literature.
Characterizations and proven selectivity and sensitivity tests led to the third objective, which is to create a portable in situ water monitoring prototype fit for mercury and lead. The materials of the device were based on the CQD's characteristics, such as the 365 nanometer UV diode, the smartphone for the fluorescence quantification using red, green, and blue channels, the cuvette, and the acrylic as the case to encapsulate all of the components of the device. After the construction, the device was totally calibrated in order to optimize its functionality and was subjected to field testing as part of the study's application for the community.
If you want to have a glimpse of how this water monitoring kit works, here is a short video featuring our device. This device actually has a size of 8 by 6 by 5 inches, which means that it is very portable compared to our large-scale laboratory instruments. The two cuvettes inside the device will contain the water samples to be tested for heavy metal analysis. The CQDs will be illuminated by the UV lights placed inside. The first cuvette contains the carbon quantum dots alone as control, while the other one will contain the carbon quantum dots with the water sample containing the presence of heavy metals.
Later readings will then be visible through the smartphone. And as you may notice, there is a difference in the fluorescence emission between the two samples. You can see that the one without the heavy metal shines brighter or glows brighter in comparison to the one that actually contains heavy metal. This is because the presence of the heavy metal shuts off the fluorescence given off by the carbon quantum dots. Thus, with data alone, we can infer or confirm presence or absence of heavy metals. However, to accurately detect the amount of metal present, we can refer to the values stated on the blue channel, which have counterpart values in the calibration curve, in order to determine the precise amount of heavy metal concentration actually present in the sample.
And just as easy as that, people can finally determine in an instant whether there is a presence of mercury or lead in a particular water sample. So you might be wondering, what is this study really all about, or what is it for? Here, The study's findings and conclusion is in four folds. So this study demonstrated a successful synthesis of high-quality endocarbon quantum dots as proven by various characterization techniques performed. The MCQDs were also proven very effective in terms of accurately detecting mercury and lead through the quenching phenomenon attributed to the regressive relationship between the fluorescence emission of the carbon quantum dots and the heavy metal concentration.
Significant addition to the existing body of literature, this study paved way for the invention of a portable in situ water monitoring kit for mercury and lead. We believe that as a sig- we, turning massive and complicated instruments that cost millions into smaller, cheaper, and portable ones, we hope to extend the services to the rural and poor areas of the Philippines.
We believe that the purpose of research is advancing communities through science, technology, and innovation. And we aspire to empower these communities, starting with a safe and assured water quality.
Thank you so very much for your presentation, Marvins and Lorraine. So before we proceed to our last presenters, we actually have a surprise for all of you. So we are going to have a mini icebreaker.
Are you guys excited? So, we have Bea to take over for the icebreaker. Bea?
Good afternoon, everyone. Hello.
Good afternoon.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Bea Subenko, Intel ISEF Alumni Batch 19. So before we proceed to the next presentation, let's have first a short icebreaker. Okay, so our icebreaker for today is entitled Guess the Scientist with a Twist. So basically, we're going to be showing you pictures of local and international scientists and inventors. But the twist is you're not going to see the whole face, but just a part of their face. So, for example, like their eyes, their nose, their ears, their hands, etc. But still, you must still be able to like identify their names correctly. So here's the full mechanics of the game. Okay, first, identify the full name, first name and surname of the scientist. Second, send your answer or your answer. So basically, multiple answers are allowed as fast as you can in the chat box below. And then third, the person who earns the highest points will receive a prize from our team. Are you guys excited?
I bet they are. They are.
Yes. Okay, so I prepared here like a trial game so that I would be able to know if you guys did understand the mechanics of the game. Okay, here.
As much as possible, guys, we are requesting everyone to join this mini icebreaker.
Yes, you can actually unmute guys if you want. So this person is actually, like as mentioned a while ago, the interim head of the network of ISEF Alumni Philippines. He's a young
Someone
scientist.
got the answer.
Oh.
So it's Aldrix Pamadico.
Okay, so since this is just a trial, you'll not earn a point. So now let's proceed to the real game.
Okay.
So if you guys are all ready, can you give me a thumbs up? Okay. Okay, so I think we're all ready. Okay, in 3, 2, in 3, 2, 1. Who is this scientist? So this person is actually very famous. He's a computer scientist and also an Intel ISEF alumni. He's very famous because he's part of the team who developed an algorithm to capture the very first image of the black hole. Who is this scientist?
I think.
Come on, guys. Come on.
J.S. Palma said that it's Katie Bowman.
Yeah, so it's correct. It's actually Katie Bowman.
So that's a point for J.S.
Yes.
Palma.
Yay.
Okay.
1 point.
Next, we have this. Okay, so this scientist is like the most influential scientist of all time.
Okay,
He's
I
also
think
very prominent.
someone got the answer already.
Wow, so it's
Pass
John
on this one.
Paul. John Paul Mercado.
John Paul Mercado got 1 point for
Okay.
this one.
So we have 1 point for John Paul and then
1 point for J.S. Palma.
J.S. Palma.
okay. Okay, so next we have this. This person, this scientist, is a multi-awarded scientist in the Philippines. He's very famous during this pandemic because he's the one who led the development of the COVID-19 detection kit. Additionally, he's also the executive director of the Philippine Genome Center. Who is he?
Type your answers.
Come on, guys. Type your answers. I think they're taking quite a while for this person.
This person, yes, he's very prominent and he's all over the news just last month because he led the development of the COVID-19 detection kit. And not just that, he's actually the one who also developed the dengue detection kit.
I think John Paul Mercado got the
It's
answer.
Jomar.
Oh.
Because of the wrong spelling of the last name, sadly.
Oh, I'm so sorry,
So,
John.
who got the point?
So Jomar Salubre got the point.
Yay!
Jomar
Okay, so last one. Come on, guys. Last one, we have this. So I've known the scientist since I was in elementary. He's very famous and he has a lot of discoveries in the field of astronomy.
I think someone got the answer already. It's Jansel Andre Tigzon, Galileo Galilei.
Wow. Okay.
We actually
So
have.
what's our winner, Neil?
We actually have 1 point for J.S. Palma, 1 point for John Paul Mercado, 1 point for Jomar Salubre, and 1 point for Jansel.
Oh, okay, so I think we have to break the tie.
Okay,
Yeah.
so the four of you, we are requesting to answer this.
Okay. So here's the last one. So the person who will be able to answer this one correctly will be our winner for this game. Are you guys ready? Okay.
Oh.
So.
Okay, I think
someone won.
So our winner, Bea, can you please tell the person, Muna?
Oh, okay. So this person is Bill Gates.
Yes, okay.
He's a scientist. He's technically a scientist, and he's the co-developer of the Microsoft Corporation. So who's our winner?
Our winner for this icebreaker is no other than John Paul Mercado.
Wow. So congratulations, John Paul Mercado. Kindly send us your contact details so that we'll be able to inform you on how to claim your prize. Thank you so much, everyone, for participating, and I hope you'll be able to enjoy the next presentation. Bye!
Again, congrats to the icebreaker winner, John Paul Mercado. Please send us a private message in the official Niap Facebook page to claim your special prize.
So now that we've had the icebreaker, we will now proceed to our final presenter. So here we have Franklin Razon from Mimaropa Regional Science High School with his study where he created a solution to oil spill through the use of locally available and discarded materials such as loofah and coconut husk.
Bea, can you please stop sharing your screen? And for Franklin, you may now share your screen to start your presentation.
Witnessing one of the worst environmental scenarios, the oil spill in 2016 in Calapan City, Oriental Mindoro, and the oil spill in Pinamalayan, Oriental Mindoro in 2018, and seeing how the community as a whole being adversely impacted awakened me to realize oil spill certainly poses extreme depletion to marine life, and this could happen anywhere in the world. With problems during the cleanup process, it also exposes the society to health risks due to water pollution. In the Philippines, managing oil spill still remains a challenge due to unexplored technologies resourced from highly available materials. One interesting approach is through the use of fibrous agricultural byproducts, which have been reported to be oleophilic and hydrophobic in nature. With this as an application, I am Franklin Razon from Philippines, from Mimaropa Regional Science High School, and the goal of my study is to address oil spill through developing a surface vehicle with selected Philippine fibers as a system for oil retrieval in spill-affected areas. So why did I use loofah and coconut husk in the surface vehicle? Primarily, I consider this because of their abundance as well as year-round availability. They are commonly regarded as environmental wastes. Most importantly, they best fit the criteria having lignocellulose structures which play a role in the absorption. For the mechanism of the device, using Arduino and sensors, the device could be controlled via smartphones for field navigation and control. Selected Philippine fibers such as loofah and coconut husk were pre-treated with sodium hydroxide solution for 12 hours, reinforced, and processed into blankets to serve as the main absorbing mechanism of the proposed system. Synchronous with absorption, oil retrieval was executed through its squishing and recovery structure, which also sends line-of-sight notification to the user once a kilogram of oil was recovered and the weight was detected. Evaluated in the artificially prepared crude, diesel, and vegetable oil spill simulations, the device shows potential in absorbing oil from the spill-affected areas with a removal time of 2 to 4 minutes and is able to recover oil such as crude, diesel, and vegetable. Additionally, the device maintains connectivity to the smartphone controller even at a distance of 50 meters, has a suitable revolution per minute range, and is 90 to 95% accurate in sending notification and detecting the weight of the oil recovered. Moreover, both fibers incorporated into this device shows reusability efficiency of until 6 sorption cycle. And this has been supported by their technical properties, which includes breaking strength and average elongation of break. Based on these results, the system shows potential on being an efficient and low-cost method for spill management, highlighting retrieval of reusable oils. Thus, a possible solution to excessive oil spills and a viable way to save marine life in a larger scale.
Once again, I am Franklin Razon, hope an advocate for the environment, hoping to be part of the solution. Mabuhay to everyone. If you have queries and interested with this project, I am gladly opening my communication line through the following contact details. Thank you for listening.
Wow, thank you very much, Franklin, for your beautiful presentation. In this part of the program, we will be having a general open forum for the presenters. Then it will be followed by an interactive open forum, where you guys will be directed to individual breakout rooms. So I really have a question for Ray and Rafael. So personally for me, being an ISEF finalist is one of the most unforgettable moments in my life, where there were a lot of life-changing events during that time period up till now. Now, I'm very quite curious on your end since you're the first batch of the Regeneron International Science and Engineering Fair finalists. So how does it feel to become an ISEF alumni right now? What was the experience like? Ray and Rafael?
So if I might start first,
Yeah.
it feels really amazing. I mean, after all those months of working at this research and encountering a ton of obstacles, especially we had to juggle our academics as well as our research. It actually feels very rewarding. At the same time, it's also very humbling, and it also feels really good to know that what we're doing for school doesn't just span between the four corners of our classroom, but it also can go beyond that and could become a possible solution to the society.
Yes, and if I may add to that what Ray said, yes, I can completely relate to what Ray said before. And during those harsh 9 months that we conducted our research with, um, all of the experiences that we had, I can consider them as a learning experience that I had with Ray. And before even this happened, I never liked research before, but it's all thanks to Ray and to other different people who influenced me to like research. And it's all thanks to them that they molded me to what I am right now as part of the first batch of Regeneron ISEF 2020.
Wow. Thank you for sharing your experiences with us. Well, I actually have a question. This is for Lorraine and Marvin's. So my question, well, I mean, being an ISEF alumni as well, because I was part of the batch 2019. So, I mean, every journey has its own hardships. It has its own journey. So, I mean, you can't really reach your goal if you wouldn't undergo these hardships or these challenges. So, I mean, I want to know, what are your hardships along your research journey?
Yeah. So I think whether we admit it or not, doing research is actually very tedious. It will take a lot of our time, a lot of our efforts. Um, that's why for me, I think one of the biggest challenges that I've encountered is managing my time. It's the fact that how am I going to manage my time? Because as little do you know, I'm actually also very inclined with my academics since I graduated valedictorian back in high school. And at the same time, I had a lot of community and church activities. But there are instances wherein I and Marvins were excused from our classes for us to conduct our research at the University of the Philippines, Visayas, which is really far from our school. And we're also absent from our classes due to certain research competitions, and that actually consumed a lot of our time. But I think despite all of these hassles, what matters the most is your passion in doing your research. Because because for me, you're not only doing research for the sake of it. You're doing research for you to create something to the humanity, for the humanity. You're doing research for you to create a solution to an existing problem. And I think all of us may encounter a lot of challenges and struggles along the way, but our passion towards serving the people should be the one who which will continue to motivate us to keep going.
So, aside from being an aspiring student, we all can agree that me and Lorraine are also ordinary students that also strive to excel in our classes. So, like her, the main problem that I got during the whole duration of research is how to manage my time. But the biggest giveaway that research can teach me is that you always have to be strategic and wise in managing your time. But aside from being able to do that, even though the hurdle was so hard for us, even if sometimes we're about to cry, what made us push forward and to continue on struggling and striving is the fact that we're doing a service for everybody. That to some extent, even how small our research might be, we're able to contribute something to the scientific community and try to make the world a better place. So even in this little academic tasks or research, we think that we can find meaning on what we do and make sure that these meaning actually translate in trying to help everybody and trying to help the community.
I really agree with you guys. So, aside from personal gains, research really has this noble cause. And I think that will really push you in pursuing your research study. Now, right now, I have a question for the audience. So, who among you guys are aspiring scientists? Can you leave a thumbs up if you are? Okay, I'm seeing one. I'm seeing two, three. Okay, so a lot of students here, a lot of participants here are aspiring scientists, and I'm quite sure that some of you are still quite shy or quite scared to further discover this field of research, and maybe you just need a little push, a little bit of inspiration for you to go out there and see the beautiful nature of research. And I'm asking Franklin, maybe you can share some bit of advice, some inspirational message to push these people in being in the field of research, to be in the field of research rather. Franklin?
So, so my advice or message to, or inspiring message to those aspiring researchers and young scientists out there is that always remember that research is definitely not an easy field to dwell into. But when you continue with research will make you love it more and you will see it how fun to deal with it even for a lifetime. So it's basically on my personal experience. And to my fellow enthusiasts in this field, hope all of you would continue with your passion for research. And I am encouraging with you to keep moving, even we failed at some point of our researches. Because we should keep in mind that we are not doing researches or our studies or our projects not only for the benefit of ourselves, but it is for the betterment of the community. So I guess that's all.
Wow, that is very inspiring of you to say such. So I think that wraps up for our general open forum, right, Neil? So
I think we're done, yeah.
yeah, so now we will be proceeding to the interactive one. Are you guys excited? Because
I
I am.
am. Me
I
too.
am. So we both
Yes.
are. And I guess you guys are too. So we will be assigning breakout rooms to each presentation for this portion. A set of presenters will be given 5 minutes for each breakout room. Then we will switch with another set of presenters. We will now be transferring you to the individual breakout rooms, and for those using Facebook Live, please stay online. See you there, guys!
See you guys. Please join the breakout rooms now.
Hello, Dr. Kirill. How are you?
Fine. How are you guys doing?
Doing well.
Nice talks. I like it.
Yeah, they are all good.
Yep.
Young as that they were able to do all those tests and they have conducted all those experiments. Amazing.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
For all of the participants, we are humbly requesting everyone to mute their microphones as of the moment. And then if you have any questions, you may unmute yourself or you may chat in the chat box and I can relay your message to our presenters since we are still on Facebook Live. Thank you.
I have one question. We're talking about quantum dots or quantum spheres or quantum particles.
Well, as of now, so our presenter, so we will be having Raphael and Ray. So their topic is on. So the topic of Ray and Raphael is they utilize Nipa, a common plant in coastal areas, as a source of lactic acid bacteria with good probiotic properties and focused on its capability on prevention of disease development. So if you have any questions regarding that topic, you may comment in the chat box below, or you may unmute yourself and ask the presenters directly. Thank you.
So they are the presenter number one. Am I right?
Presenters number one.
All right. May I just, I would ask the first question. Are you guys still in your high school or you are now in your college?
We're incoming freshmen of college already, ma'am.
Both of you?
Yes,
Both
ma'am.
of you?
Yes.
You conducted
ma'am.
your study when you were in your
Senior high school, grade 12.
grade 12.
Yes,
Am I
ma'am.
right? How
Yes, ma'am.
long did it take you to finish all those testings?
It took us about at least 9 months, ma'am, to conduct everything, ma'am. From the isolation up until the last, which was the
Again, I did not hear the first statement. How long did it take?
Okay. Sorry, ma'am. About 9 months, ma'am. 9 months. From isolation up until DNA protection, it took us about 9 months.
That includes proposal.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right. I'm just wondering, what have been your inspiration of coming up with such kind of study, young as you are?
Okay. So if I may start, ma'am, actually, both of us are actually really interested already in biology. However, my brother, who is a college student, conducted studies on lactic acid bacteria. So being that I was already quite amazed by their study, I wanted to somehow delve deeper into lactic acid bacteria and to see what other properties could they give and possibly what other sources could they where else can we take these lactic acid bacteria from. So I shared that with my partner, who is Raphael, and he was completely in agreement with me, and that's why we just went on to make our research plan and then went further with the study.
Yep. Ray said.
Okay. I think Dr. Kirill you have questions, sir?
Me?
Yes, sir.
Well, I ask everybody in these studies, what made you choose that topic? You partially answered, but did you wake up one morning and you say, gee, this is something I really like to study? Or did this came after seeing some questions not being answered or some need for it? And what triggered you? What was your triggering point?
Well, it's because personally, in my case, I found that I was quite surrounded with a lot of people who had diseases which were already at their later stages. So I kind of saw, and mind you that those diseases they suffered them at earlier ages. So I was actually quite intrigued as to maybe we can find a way to make sure that these make it so that these people don't develop these diseases even earlier in life. So I think if I were to answer that, I think it's somewhat based on my environment and the cumulative factors that I found around myself. So it's like finding a solution for a problem.
Okay, thank you.
Last one. I really could not make any comment or something with regards to your study. It's because you did not submit paper to us. I cannot
Oh,
really go
okay.
deeper into all those testings, all those that you have conducted, simply because I do not have a copy of your paper. I'm so
Would you prefer that we sent them to you now, or because we do have our Google Drive links for the paper?
okay. So I do not know what would have been the procedure if you're still allowed to send them. But nonetheless, it was a thought. It's just that I have very limited know-how of all those methods that you have performed simply because I do not have the copy of the paper.
Okay.
But just to give us a little more background of it, could you just tell us in a brief answer all those testings that you did, and then tell me, were you really the two of you who did all those testings, or somebody performed those testings for you? Because as we all know, we have to observe what we call a biosafety laboratory
Yes.
procedure, wherein you're not qualified to perform. There would be some qualified scientists who would be performing all those. So just tell us you did not.
So starting from the top, actually, like before this actual conduct of the study, we looked for our consultant, of course, a qualified scientist. So in our case, we found a professor from Western Visayas State University who runs Green Technologies Business Incubation, which is a biotechnology lab found at West Visayas State University. So we before the actual conduct, we were actually provided some prior briefing as to how we were going to handle these microorganisms, considering that there is definitely a risk present in conducting these types of studies. And after that, we presented our research plan and went on forward. So the first thing that we did was lactic acid bacteria isolation. So the first thing was actually collecting the sap, the plant sap from our source, which we bought from a Nipa farmer vendor slash vendor, and then we proceeded to take that to the lab where we proceeded to do our isolation. So that included preparing the mediums, of course, and further purification, which includes selecting the colonies from our sample, and then to ensure that we don't have a contaminated sample and that we can isolate a singular type of a singular species. And after that, we proceeded to go through the different assays. So there's three key things. There's antimicrobial, antioxidative, and DNA protective. As for the antimicrobial, we actually conducted two things. First is the one with agar overlay assay, where we use two test organisms, both E. coli and S. aureus, in order to measure the amount of the inhibition of lactic acid bacteria against these test organisms. After that, since our literature said that pointed to the presence of antimicrobial peptides, or in other cases they would call it bacteriocin, we wanted to test that. That's why we took some crude extracts through syringe filtration. After that, we subjected it to the microtiter resazurin microtiter assay, which actually I can actually share a slide with you so that you can understand how this works.
Okay, you don't need to share that because we have a limited time. You just
Okay,
give it
sige.
a brief thing that you did with those. Make it
Okay,
make
but
it
basically what we did with that was we tested only the extracts and without the organism, the lactic acid bacteria. That's what we did at the Resazarine microtiter assay. And after that, we conducted a antioxidant test using DPPH radical scavenging assay, which involves measuring the amount of DPPH that was converted into DPPH-H, which is supposed to illustrate the way antioxidants work. Because this test allows us to identify whether there are actually antioxidants in our sample. So we did that by using a microplate reader, and we were able to measure those values. Now, the key point of our study, which is DNA protective assay, was actually somewhat related to the antioxidative test, because the way hydroxyl damages DNA is also through oxidative stress. That's why in this assay we have lambda DNA as a marker, and we produce hydroxyl through the Fenton reaction in order to trigger the DNA damage. However, we had the treated group, which contained the lab X. We run it through a gel electrophoresis machine so that we can see the separation of these bands. And after that, we were able to use quantification techniques through a software by which reads the amount of fluorescence and then converts it into a quantifiable. That's our study basically.
Okay, good.
Does
Thank
that
you.
make
Thank
sense?
you. Yes, makes sense. Now I understand it more compared to a while ago. I'm sorry.
Good questions and good answers.
Yes.
Okay, so we will have our next question from Brian.
So hi, I'm Brigham Ace Boris from Philippine Science High School. So actually we have the same research in the sense that mine was anti-cancer also, and I tested it on cancer cells. So my question is, what was the basis of choosing vitamin E as the positive control for your antioxidant test, where you can choose butylated hydroxytoluene for such? Yun lang.
Okay. So we actually based it from literature, like what we use, what they need, the commercial type of antioxidant. And at the same time, it was the only one which was
available in the lab.
So did you also use vitamin E as a positive control doon sa DNA protective assay?
No, we didn't use vitamin E because vitamin E isn't compatible with that particular assay. They actually use a different positive control, which was catalase, but we did not have that at that time a laboratory.
Okay, yun lang. Thank you.
Sure.
Are there any more questions? Oh, yes, Pete.
No, Pete.
Hello. Good afternoon.
Yes, good afternoon.
Hi, no.
So basically my question is, well, first, what course will you be taking in college right now?
Okay, so
would you like to go first, Raf?
It is just a
Okay, so
important.
I'll be enrolling in the University of San Agustin, which is here in Iloilo, in their main branch. I'll be taking the course which is Bachelor of Science in Medical Laboratory Science.
Nice.
Yes. So,
how about you, Ray?
I'll be going to the University of the Philippines, Manila, taking BS Biochemistry.
Okay, so basically my question is, since it's good that your courses are medical related or inclined to biology, how would you continue this project afterwards? So what are the next steps? What are your next steps?
Oh, okay. So if I were to go first, wanted to understand the chemical basis as to how these reactions happen, because, well, coming as a high school student, going into this, there's a lot of things I still don't know, but That's why I wanted to go to BS Biochemistry in order to understand these chemicals. I may even try to work with other biomolecules as well, aside from DNA. And I believe that my course would provide me a good understanding.
Great. Thank you.
Okay, so we have the last minute before we switch presenters. So if anybody wants to ask
Can I
one
have the hello, hi.
Hi, Kuya.
Yeah, I have the last question.
yes.
Well, it's not a
Yes.
question. I think it's just a comment. I think your study has a lot of potential, especially ang daming nipa namin. We have a lot of those plants here around our place, and I think I come from the conservation science side, and I think more than the medical side. When we build these kinds of potentials for these kinds of things, for these kinds of plants, then we're actually putting more conservation values to these species. So especially Nipa, which we only use for like the Kogon industry. But I think with your project, we're giving that kind of conservation value that we haven't really understood and we haven't really explored before. So I really congratulate you for that and for giving new reputation for this plant, So congratulations and keep it up. I hope you could continue exploring your study. I think it has a lot of potentials, whether it's for cancer research, antimicrobial, or even just for a simple, like, what can we use with this plant, So, so yeah, congratulations. You really did a good job with that. And I hope you could share with the people who are interested here the technical aspects with it, because I understand that this presentation is really for the community, We wanted this presentation to really inspire students on the kinds of topics that we could explore. But if some people would really want to understand the science and the technicalities behind it, I think they would be very happy to keep in touch with you. So congratulations, guys, and I look forward to have you with the Niap family.
Thank you, Kuya.
Thank you so very much, everyone, for all of your questions. So we will have the switching of presenters in 30 seconds, so please stay in touch.
Okay, while we're waiting for this, if I may say something, you guys are working on a holy like water, how it can keep us young forever, Antioxidants play a big role in that. So how can I keep my beard not so white? So it would have been nice if it stayed black. So you have these answers. You just have to find them.
Yeah. That's what we wanted to investigate. Although our study has different potentials for its implications as of the moment.
It has many, yes.
Okay, so we will now be switching presenters. Thank you so very much, Ray and Rafael, for all your time. And we will see you in the main meeting room later.
Gotcha.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Please wait for a couple of seconds, and then our next presenters will be here. So for the time being, we are still waiting for the next presenters. I would like to ask everyone, how's everyone? How are you handling with the pandemic so far?
Patiently.
Wow, that's very good, Dr. Kirill. Ma'am?
Getting used to the situation, of course.
Well, I don't feel it as much. I just like to isolate from groups of people. But I'm home, I'm in my lab. It does not bother me that much. But I still try to be careful.
Yeah, of course.
Wearing gloves, wearing masks, no shaking hands. These are new habits we have to pick up.
Okay. I think everyone has the responsibility to do their personal share of not getting infected at the same time, be the cause of infection to others, right?
Yes, yes. I mean, it's not just for your own. It's
Yes, true.
also how how much safety you offer for the others.
That's right. Yes. Because this would become part of our system. No matter, even if we would get the vaccine in the near future, it's just like the flu, the ordinary flu that we experience. It would be there. It will not leave
Well,
us anymore.
it would be there, and it is very dangerous.
Yes,
I
yes.
was reading an article today, the damage that the oxygen causes in the lungs.
Sorry to interrupt, but our next presenter is actually with us right now. So, may I please introduce Franklin with so his study. Um, his study tackled on. So he created a solution to oil spill through the use of locally available and discarded materials such as loofah and coconut husk. So, if anyone has inquiries about this topic or about his research, please feel free to ask him. Thank you.
He is the presenter number 3, am I right?
Yes, presenter number 3.
And you're alone in doing all those.
Yes po.
You were all alone in doing that. Cons, your study is so good.
I've
Dealt with a lot of metals. Some are good metals like sodium, magnesium, and the likes, while some are also heavy metals like lead, mercury, and cadmium. So all of the other metals that are good ones are handled by us, the researchers, while the heavy metals are handled by our consultants, since we are still not allowed yet to deal with those metals. And in terms of disposal, we actually treated the inorganic substances, and it was done by the University Waste Management System. And it was based on the MSPS Manual and Sciencing team, if I remembered it right.
Okay. Thank you so much for answering my question, Lorraine. So we have Robella Salcedo. So her question is, now that both of you are in college, what is the plan or next step of your research?
I'm Ravel. So if given the time and given the luxury of able to meet every time to plan the next step of the research, what we ought to do is to try to explore other doping agents to improve the properties of our carbon quantum dots. At the same time, try to as well apply carbon quantum dots in different types of pollutants. And most of all is to innovate and to improve the features of our device.
Okay. Hello, Marvin. I just want to say that I really like your project. Like, I really believe that it's very innovative and it has the potential. So, like, I definitely suggest that you apply for funding from the Department of Science and Technology, so that you would be able to commercialize your product and that the community would be able to like use it like that. So
Thank you,
thank you so
Ate
much.
Bea.
Thank you po.
Thank you so much. So we have another question from John Celtic John again.
Ayan. Good afternoon to our speakers today. So I have a question here po. Since I'm from Sobrang City Science Integrated High School. I also have friends who also conducted with physical science category, and some of their topic really deal with monitoring and sensing of such elements. So I have a question regarding this. How did you compare the effectivity of your research study to the other monitoring kit or studies that monitors or sense mercury and lead elements? That would be all. Thank you.
Actually, right after all of our experimentation, since we have first undergone the synthesis of the CQD, then we proceeded to the metal selectivity and sensitivity test. Then right after that, we made the device and then conducted the field test in order for us to compare the results of our device with the existing instruments such as the FAAS and the CVAAS. So we have we gathered water samples from a particular from the wastewater of a particular company, and then we had it tested both from the CVAAS and FAAS, and at the same time we have compared the results with our device. So we are very glad that the results are correlates with each other and are very comparable.
Sorry. Okay.
Go ahead, Jensen.
I have another like clarification in the question. I know. Is there like other research study that also deal with mercury and lead that makes your study noble or like innovative as a monitoring kit or prototype?
Okay. In terms of current studies that are being used for heavy metal detection, majority of these studies use metallic nanoparticles like gold, like silver. So in terms of what nanoparticles we're going to use, we already have 1 point. But more than that, even in carbon quantum dots, there are some researchers that also try to explore mercury and lead. What makes, again, our study more unique is in terms of how we synthesize it. And that explains how low our limit of detection is. In comparison to other studies, their limit of detection usually range more than 10 ppb. However, in our case, we got to reach 0.72 parts per billion. So in terms of how efficient it is in comparison to related studies, we also have another point over them. But the cutting edge of our study is that we were able to create a portable in situ water monitoring kit that actually applies the ability of carbon quantum dots. So in terms of innovation, we got 3 points then. Number 1, we use organic nanomaterials. Number 2, we have a more efficient limit of detection. And number 3, we were able to encapsulate it into a portable, usable device.
So in summary, or to add on to what Marvin has said, actually our study, in terms of novelty, our study was the first high school study conducted to deal with carbon quantum dots, and it's actually the first study created which creates a portable in situ water monitoring kit which incorporates the carbon quantum dots in order to detect the heavy metals.
Okay, thank you very much, and great job for a well done research study.
Thank you.
Okay, so I just want to inform everyone that we only have 3 minutes left. So after that time, Lorraine and Marvin's will be transferring to another room, and then another batch will be coming in our breakout session. So we have another question from Eliza Joy Ralios. Did you consider checking the bacteria content of the water sample? Hello, Lorraine. Hello.
Hi, sorry. The reason why we weren't able to take into account the bacteria content because the study's limitation is to solely focus on heavy metals. However, in future studies, we also wanted to increase the sensing ability of carbon quantum dots and instead use proteins then as chelating agents so that we're able to sense certain types of bacteria as well. However, in this study, we weren't able to check the bacteria content of the water sample given the fact that it's already out of our scope and limitation.
Hello, are we able to answer your question, Eliza? Okay, so...
Can I ask a question? Okay, so first of all, Marvins and Lorraine, good job to your project. I really loved it. I really loved your presentation. It's very clear. I just
Thank
want
you.
to ask about the parts of your study since there are tons of features and testings conducted. What are the parts that you just have to submit to institutions, and what are the parts that the both of you conducted by your own? The question here, ba?
So the parts that me and Lorraine did were majority of those were the synthesis, the preparation of the samples for the characterization. However, complicated steps like maneuvering the FESM, maneuvering the AFM, the XRD, which requires years of expertise, these things were done by our consultants or by our professors.
All right. Thank you so much. Good job.
Thank you.
Okay, so do we have other questions? So while waiting for the next batch, Lorraine and Marvins, what is your message to the students here who are planning to join the ISEF in the future? I mean, to join the science fairs in the future.
I think my message would be you should never be afraid to explore, because there is a lot of problems here in the world that are needed, that they're in need of solutions. So, and I think you should really have a passion for research, because as I've said earlier, again, research will take a lot of your time. So what matters the most is your passion for you to keep going, because you're doing research to help the humanity and to serve the humanity.
How about you, Marvin?
We do research not just because that our school mandates us to do, but we do research for a greater purpose, which is to give meaningful contribution to your society. So I want for everybody who aspire to be researchers, I want you to remember that you do these things not just for yourself, but to improve the whole world and to make the world a better place.
Okay. Thank you so much, Lorraine and Marvin, for answering the questions of our participants. Thank you also for giving your insights and your experience as a student researcher. So now we're just waiting for the next batch of the Regeneron ISEF finalists. And Lorraine and Marvin will now be transferred to another room.
Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you, guys.
Okay, while waiting for the next batch, I just want to say hi to my advisor. Hello, Ma'am Janet Mamansag, and also to the other research advisors.
Go further, those milestones will become your future 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 treasures in your life. So we're now moving to the next presenter. I think for the next presenter we will be having Franklin Razon, who is not yet here. So let's just wait for him. May I ask the technical team, Eric, where is Franklin right now? Okay, here he is. So may I introduce Franklin Razon again. So Franklin Razon was able to create a solution to oil spill through the use of locally available discarded materials such as loofah and coconut husks. So if you have questions, we will be accommodating them for 5 minutes. Hello, Franklin. Hello, Franklin.
Thank you po. And hello again, everyone.
Okay. So if I will just repeat my question that I've asked you a while ago, what will be your message to the people here in conducting the researches?
So my message are inspiring advice to those aspiring researchers here in this room. I would like to say just to continue your passion for research, and even though we failed in some points of our researches, we must go forward and always think that we're not doing this just for fame or for compliance to our subjects in school, but also for the sake of the community.
Yes,
And and may I add, po,
yes.
I just want to add that research fair should not be looked as a prize to be won, but it should be looked as a stepping stone where we could share to the public, to more audiences, our researches.
That is very true. I would like to restate what I've said earlier, that research is not only for personal gain. It has a noble cause that will really push you in conducting your study. And right now, looking at the progress of research in our country, the progress that we have in our country is very much, if you can say, lags as you compare to other countries. And these pre-college researches will become maybe the foundation of a new research industry here in our country. And I would like to commend you, Franklin, for contributing to that foundation.
Thank you, Paul. And I hope people in this room would also do the same.
Okay. So we have a question from Jesse Loxon Jr. again. Are you affiliated with an environmental organization? And if not, are you pushing for future application of your product?
Actually, in my barangay, our locality, most of my relatives are members of Bantay Dagat, which was related to protecting bodies of water. And as to what they said, all spills is very detrimental to marine life. And not only to marine life, it is also detrimental to the community.
Okay. Moving on to our next question, we have a question from Sancha Rolian. How many times is the loofah coconut husk? How many times can loofah coconut or coconut husk can be used? Can it be used multiple times, or is it for single use only? How much is the cost of your product?
Thank you for your question, sir or ma'am. So the loofah and the coconut husk fiber blankets can be used until 6 sorption cycle po. So without indication of tearing and also other types of deterioration. And also for the cost of the study, it only cost 5,000 pesos. So if for the entire fabrication, it only cost 5,000 pesos. So if I will commercialize it and made it available to the public, it would be very affordable for them.
Okay, so the next question is from John Eric Agarao. Oh, I think we're running out of time. We only have 5 seconds until we go back to the main meeting room. See you guys there.
Are we done with the presentations and dialogues, or what just happened? I'm not sure.
Uh, we've sent a message that all the participants can proceed to the breakout rooms again. Just
Okay.
a short interruption.
Because I did have one more comment on the last dialogue I was having with the quantum dot people.
Yeah. Everyone can now proceed to the breakout rooms again. I've sent the link.
Are we waiting somebody to tell us what to do, or?
Hello, sir. Oh yeah, you can proceed to the breakout rooms. It's they're open again.
How can we do that? I'm less technical than you are, Pete.
At the ano sir, the bottom part there's this breakout room thing. So you
Okay, I see breakout rooms.
Facing also because we lack of instruments and or equipment to resolve those issues. And second is I observed the abundance of loofah and coconut husk to the point that they are considered as environmental wastes. And
Okay.
so I could think of a way on how I could creatively use those conditions present in my environment to resolve problems also existing in my community.
Okay. So I'm very quite curious while we're in this quarantine amidst this pandemic. I would like to know, just like what I've asked the first set of presenters, what was your realization in terms of research and sciences during this pandemic, during this quarantine of ours?
So actually, we're starting a new research right now, and also what we realized with my teammates is that this pandemic should not be considered as a stumbling block in doing researches, but we must do it. But we must learn how to adapt to it, so we could continue doing researches for the betterment of the community, and also for other researchers out there. We don't need to go to laboratories, which is inaccessible right now, to design a research that is very excellent or well designed. But we could just explore what's present in our environment to do researches.
I really agree with you, since when you're trying to find a research problem, you should always look at what's near you. inside your circle for you to solve those problems that you already have or experiencing right now. So maybe can I ask what was the most valuable lesson that you've learned in conducting this research study?
So what I've learned primarily in doing this research is that my project is not so complex as compared to those one in the robotics field. But I think that research is not always merely about very complex invention, but it is sharing what we've learned and how we could really impact for the betterment of the community.
Okay, so I have a personal question myself. So since my research was also about handling with fibers, did you use fibers for your research?
Yes, yes, particularly loofah and coconut husk.
Okay, so for my research, we've used abaca, water hyacinth, and bamboo. So I would like to know what was the process in extracting the fibers for coconut husk and loofah.
So primarily po, those fibers were just defibered, and I followed the steps employed by Inagaki et al. And where it includes pre-treatment of those fibers with sodium hydroxide for 12 hours for reinforcement, and then it was woven into blankets na po.
Okay. Did you use any more fibers aside from loofah and coconut husk?
Yeah, I've as suggested by the judges or in my regional science fair, they recommend to use to explore for other potential of fibers, but due to limited time, I wasn't able to perform fully those experiments and evaluations. So unfortunately, I wasn't able to include those in my manuscript.
I see. So when conducting your research, I'm very much sure that there are a lot of experiences from here and there. So I would like to know what was the most memorable experience that you've had in creating this study.
So one of the most memorable experience that I've had is to engage with people. Is to personally engage with people po in the community, and also it's fun to learn programming.
Okay. So it's like a combination of physical sciences and robotics. Am I right?
Yeah.
Okay. So for this breakout session, we only have 2 more minutes for the interactive open forum.
So we have a question.
Okay, we have a question from JB Orino. How is the disposal of those fibers after absorbing oil spills?
Yeah. So thank you for your question, sir. After the evaluation process, as to follow the ethical procedures and standard protocols, I've dried the loofah and the coconut husk, which has been used as absorbent materials, were finally dried into biofuel po. So it's the most safest way of disposing those things po.
And I think that's one of the essence of research.
Yeah.
You're making a problem into a solution to another problem. So you're kind of hitting 2 birds with 1 stone.
Yeah.
Okay. So maybe may I also ask, how does it feel like to be an ISEF finalist, knowing that you're the very first batch of the Regeneron ISEF finalists?
So the feeling is mixed of emotions because there's a bit of disappointment that we cannot go to US and experience and bond with our fellow ISEF 2020 finalists from other countries. But it is really an honor to represent our country, even at the virtual stage. And also, it's I think I stand behalf of my ISEF 2020 fellows that experiencing virtual ISEF just made us realize that ISEF really value us, the research, the aspiring young scientists and engineers.
That is very quite true. It is very important for these competitions to exist because it will really inspire us students like us and teachers out there to further improve the field of research in our country. So we will now be redirected to the main meeting room for our closing remarks. I would like to thank everyone for being so interactive and for the active participation that you've given us in this interactive open forum. I would like to ask everyone if you enjoyed this interactive open forum, you can leave a thumbs up if you did. Well, I'm very happy to see that those thumbs up, and I'm expecting to see you guys soon next week in the next part of the episode of ISEF Alumni Stage Series, where we
Thank
will be
you po.
featuring
Thank
three
you to
more scientists.
everyone.
Thank you, Franklin. Thank you so much. So I would like to ask the technical team, Eric, are we going back to the main meeting room now? Okay. So we will just wait for the technical team to move us to the main meeting room in 10 seconds. So we will just wait for the closing remarks of the program, where we will have a picture taking at the end of it. Again, I would like to thank everyone for joining us in this event.
How is everyone? So how was their breakout sessions? How was yours, Neil?
I really had the blast with mine. It was very fun. I learned a lot of things from our finalists. They really inspired me to become a better researcher. How about you, Maria? Jaja, how was the breakout room session?
Mine, it was actually pretty interesting. Special mention to Dr. Kirill and Ma'am Lolita for asking these very interesting and very informing questions to our participants, to our presenters. So, yeah, actually, me as a researcher, I was actually very intrigued as well with all of their presentations. So, I also had my questions that I asked the presenters, and they're very good at answering them.
I really agree with you, especially in my part where I learned this valuable lesson, because during research, when you're trying, you'll be very down. Sometimes you'll get depressed, very sad. But that means that when you're trying, when you're failing, you are trying, and that means when you're trying, you are growing as a person, not only in our mind but also in our heart. And I think that really is the essence of research overall.
Yes, Neil, I totally agree with you. And research at the end of the day, it's still about giving back to the community. Your research will be a template and will be used by a lot of people, especially researchers in the future, as to develop what you've already started, and that would, really help our community in the future.
It is really for a noble cause. And I really know that you guys had a blast in the interactive open forum. So
you guys have fun? Leave a thumbs up if you did.
Yes.
I'm very happy to see that. And from here, I would like to thank you for joining us in this relaunching event. And we sincerely hope that you have picked up a piece of knowledge or two. And for the inspiring student scientists out there, I hope we were able to spark a fire in your hearts to conduct your very own research study.
And who knows? Maybe you could be the next phase of the Philippine team in the next International Science and Engineering Fair.
And again, before we forget, please do follow us on our social media accounts for more updates of our activities. Our Facebook page is Network of ISEF Alumni Philippines. Instagram is Niap Philippines. And Twitter is also Niap Philippines.
Can
So
I
what
say
or
can I say something to all of you?
yes,
Oh,
doctor.
yes, you can proceed.
You are working now on a project in a narrow research field. Life might bring you in a totally different area. And you wonder how whatever you learned in the area one will be applicable in area two. With time, you're going to realize that there is no area one, there is no area two. It's just you're picking up a knowledge. The knowledge that you gain from any field in science is applicable everywhere. And you can think of biology, solid state science, all that. At the end, you just are dealing with different point on sub-sphere of science, and it will help you a lot. So
I really agree with you, Dr. Kirill, because no matter what field of science, may it be at biology, chemistry, or physics, it's just one science. And what really matters the most is that you're learning, not only in our heart, but also in my mind, not only in our minds, but also in our heart. And of our community in the field of science, no matter what field we are in.
And you are also contributing to the vast body of knowledge in your own little way.
And that is what is important. And that is what is important.
Yes, Neil.
Thank you very much, Dr. Kirill, for that. It was very inspiring for us to see a scientist here in our webinar to contribute to the inspirational message that in our webinar. Now,
Yes, and by the way, the person who just gave his message was Dr. Kirill Pandilesev. He is an ISEF judge, and he has been very supportive to the Philippine team ever since. And he is also a scientist himself, as he is the CEO of the HNP Medical Research Incorporated. And HNP Medical Research Incorporated is also an award-giving body for the Best of ISEF in Philippines Award, which started in 2016.
and
So thank you, Dr. Kirill, for being with us
our
this
first
afternoon.
recipient of Best of Philippines.
Yes, thank you. Now let's give the floor to our MCs.
So sadly, we are at the end of this webinar. So before we end this webinar, let us all take one picture. So we are requesting everyone to turn on their cameras and smile for the photo.
this photo will commemorate this milestone in the new history of pre-college researches. Thank you, everyone.
Okay, so I'm just requesting everyone to just smile because there are so many of us. So I'm just requesting everyone to smile. Okay. 1, 2, 3. Sorry, you heard that.
That was not painful.
Thank you very much once again. I really enjoyed this webinar. Did you guys? I really enjoyed it.
Well, I did as well. I think everyone here enjoyed, right? Is that right, everyone? Give a thumbs up if you enjoyed this webinar.
One thing on our way out, I wanted to mention that all these programs were watched by 8 judges plus me, so we can pick the next best of Philippines. So maybe when we are done with the project and we know who that person is, maybe we can get her once more to celebrate that.
Yes. So after this webinar next week, after completing all of the 6 set of presenters, we will be soon awarding the next Best of Philippines in ISEF 2020. And I'm hoping to see you guys all there next week.
Yes,
Yes,
there will be another webinar next week, and we will be having the second set of our presenters.
Okay, and once again, thank you very much for joining us in this relaunching event. And please enjoy the rest of the weekend. Thank you, everyone.
So take care, everyone. We hope to see you soon, and well, have a great weekend ahead.
Thank
You
you,
can now
everyone.
leave the breakout room, the meeting room. Thank you, everyone.
Take care. See you soon. Bye bye.
Bye bye.